second.
A second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Under
Aye.
old business, we have new town hall, which has been tabled and it will remain so for this meeting. Under new business, we have a Campo update from Brandon Watson. Mr. Watson with us?
Hi, Mayor. This is Shelby Powell with Campo. Brandon's not here, but I am here in his place.
Okay, well, nice hearing from you, Shelby. We appreciate all the work you did helping the town of Bunn several years ago.
It was lots of years ago now.
Yeah.
But yeah, good to be here with you all again. So yeah, as I mentioned, Brandon has several of these meetings this evening, so I'm covering this one for him. And what I'm really going to do is introduce Timothy Treshalabi with Stantec, who's going to give you a presentation on our Northeast area study. But real briefly before that, I did want to just mention that the MPO is undergoing our update to our 2050 Metropolitan Transportation Plan. And of course, the town of Bunn is a member of the MPO, and we're working to incorporate all of your planning efforts into our planning efforts. The MTP is a federally required planning document that the MPO does do for the region. So any state or federal money that gets spent on transportation projects needs to be included in the MTP. So we'll be reaching out to you all to try to schedule a meeting sometime soon to go over your local priorities and hopefully get those incorporated into our Metropolitan Transportation Plan. And the work that we're doing with this Northeast area study is going to lend to that as well. So if there's no questions for me, I'm going to turn it over to Timothy to give the main part of the presentation, and then I'll be around for questions afterwards if there are any as well.
Wonderful. Thank you, Shelby. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay, great. I'm going to share my screen if that's all right. Unfortunately, though, I need to be allowed to share my screen first. Oops. Oh, I think that worked. Nope. Whomever is the host, is it possible to enable screen sharing? Or if not, can you pull up our project website, niceupdate.com?
It is me, and give me a minute. This is our first time, so give me a minute to figure it out.
Yep.
So I need to
Yep.
share. Or event share. Can you share now?
The alternative, oh, yes, I can. Thank you. I think you made me co-host.
Praise.
There we go. So one more time, can everyone see the screen being presented?
I can.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So welcome. Our purpose here today is just to provide a mid-project update for the Northeast area study. We're going to cover 3 sections: where have we been, where are we now, and where are we heading. That's how we have them organized. So we're going to start with where have we been. So beginning last April, we had an all virtual public engagement process. It went digital because of COVID-19. We had things like an interactive web map through ArcGIS Online. We had an online survey that accompanied that, and we hosted this all through a project website, niceupdate.com, which as of today, I think is just over 3,100 visits in total. To supplement our digital outreach, we had some stakeholder interviews, which took place over 2 days in May with 9 different stakeholder groups in the region, and a public symposium that took place on a Tuesday and then a Saturday in June to get some public feedback on some issues and opportunities within the region. And then along with that, we've met monthly with our core technical team, or CTT. And the point of all this engagement was that we really wanted the feedback that we received to drive our guiding principles as we move forward. So just kind of a smattering of some of the outreach we've received to date. This was an output from the interactive online map. On the left-hand side, you have a whole bunch of map points that people contributed, and we've arranged them in patterns by certain similarities. So in the upper left-hand corner, there's popular destinations within the region, redevelopment opportunities, or areas we want to protect in green. And on the left-hand side and upper right-hand corner, those are safety or speeding issues and traffic congestion issues. So it gives us a sense of the clustering of where people are saying they're having issues or where people want to protect certain land uses. So we've received more than 340 individual points of interest. And with them on the right-hand side, a lot of the comments that we received will relate to the things that people wanted to see, whether it's protecting a natural resource or agricultural area, or this is a great opportunity for live, work, and play redevelopment. Certainly plenty of those along the region, but with more than 340 comments, we received a lot of good information that was geographically specific, and that was really the value of this tool and this resource. Still available on our project website if you want to view and interact with some of these points for everyone to see. Now, as far as the online survey goes. So we asked a lot of questions. We want to summarize some of them for you here tonight. In the upper left-hand side, when people were asked how they would spend their $100 on transportation, basically what percent would you apply to certain types? More than 50% were non-vehicular modes, which tells us people are really interested in biking and walking and transit in this region. To go along with that, just beneath it, when we asked where future developments will be located in the Northeast area region, infill areas really jumped off the page, whether it was existing downtowns, currently developed areas, or even those near community centers in the yellowish goldish color. It made over 80% of where development should be occurring. So not so much density, but locating development near other development was kind of the takeaway from there. And that also lends itself to the conservation of open space. In the upper right-hand side, when we asked what types of development people would like to see, it was those quality of life or amenities that were people talked about, whether it was restaurants or open space or shopping and retail or dog park amenities and things like that. A little further on down the list where the gray bars start getting smaller and smaller and smaller, things like housing types, more farmland, or different types of apartments. People just less frequently said they wanted to see more of those types of developments. So quality of life is kind of the takeaway there. During the public symposium, which again took place on a Tuesday and then a Saturday, we did some polling questions. And I think the biggest takeaways here we highlighted in green. It was conservation and open space came up a lot, whether it was connecting to greenways or sidewalks. In orange in the middle, filling the gaps of sidewalks to make sure there aren't a segment and another segment and a missing piece in the middle. And then lastly, the complete streets. So applying complete streets principles to get more modes of transportation involved were kind of the themes that kept recurring over and over and over with some of our attendees. So all this to say that we synthesized a lot of this feedback individually from all these activities, and we put them into what we're calling general guiding principles, or the things we're going to use as we look forward to recommendations to reflect what the community really desires to see. So we use these guiding principles kind of to guide and direct us to make sure that priorities were being reflected in our multimodal recommendations at the end of the study. So to go along with this, we also looked at the land use side, and it's really interesting if you've got 425 acres or square miles. I'm sorry, acres. No, it was square miles. 425 square miles to deal with. And there's a lot of different land uses and changes that can be occurring. So on the left-hand side, the scenario one was considered our base land use scenario. That was basically what we expect areas to look like based on local comprehensive plans. And then we did 3 scenarios off of that base based on different types of clustering of development or spreading of development or nodal-based development types, just to kind of examine some plausible future development options, because in reality, we can't predict what's going to happen. We can sort of guide and sort of think that it's going to turn out that way, but there's going to be some variations along the way. So it'll always vary a little bit. So with those land use scenarios that we tested, and there were 4 altogether, we used that land use as input to the triangle regional model, and then ran to see what the 2045 or 2050 scenarios would look like on the traffic side. So this is just an export of our land use concepts, run through the travel demand model to kind of see what where the congested roadways and corridors might be. And what we found was the patterns might have varied very slightly in certain corridors, but overall the land use changes were very different from the transportation network changes, or at least the roadway network changes. They were very subtle and minor in certain corridors. And so maybe the scenarios were very different, but the output just sort of evened itself out when it comes to traffic. That's kind of my biggest takeaway is the land use changes were very dramatically different, but the output from the travel demand model were kind of minorly different. Here's another approximation of our evaluation metrics. And so there's the 4 scenarios again. And what we tried to show, rather than showing the numbers 4 times, was the relative changes of how those scenarios differed from the base condition scenario 1. So whether a change was considered desirable, it's a larger % growth, or it's bright green, or if it's less desirable, it's less green, or it's yellow, or it's even in the orange part. Now, some measures positive change is a good thing, and some measures negative change is a good thing. At the bottom, when it comes to VMT, VHT, which is vehicle miles traveled and vehicle hours traveled, a reduction is what you're after. So the bigger the negative number, the more desirable it is. So that's why we added the color codes. And so want to pull your attention to the new homes in walkable areas and near transit. 2 of the scenarios really increase the number of residential growth in a desirable manner near existing transit or in walkable areas. But the one scenario 1 just kind of less of an effect when it comes in that category. So as you can see, there's a lot of difference amongst the scenarios we tested. And relatively speaking, this is a good way of measuring kind of what those relative differences were. Not that scenario A was better than B or B was better than 4. And we intentionally called them A and B and 4 because 4 was a combination of A and B. But they all differed in their own little ways, I think was the big takeaway there. So with all this information, where are we now? So if our project was a 3-step process, we are at the end of step 2, the analysis phase, and we are beginning in some aspects, the beginning of bucket number 3, the draft recommendations. We're looking at infrastructure recommendations and also policy recommendations. So we're really formulating a lot of what we heard in the discovery phase and analyzed in the analysis phase into some true draft recommendations. And then we're going to use one more round of public engagement in phase 3 to really tailor and tweak where we're looking to finish with our recommendations. Now, this process is on pace to finish sometime in April with an approval of Campo in the June timeline. So that's why the tentative completion of the whole process is June, hoping to have some draft recommendations on paper in the February or March timeline so we can refine a little further. Okay, so almost done here. One of our processes that we're looking at is kind of validating our roadway recommendations, and it is an ongoing iterative process. But first we looked at those volume over capacity outputs that I showed earlier with the red and yellow lines on a map. We validated how each of the MTP projects were performing. This is from the 2045 MTP on a corridor by corridor basis. So we zoomed in real tight and kind of made some analysis recommendations, and then went to have some local jurisdiction meetings to kind of look in more detail on certain corridors. We've incorporated any adopted local transportation plans or CTPs into this process. And now we're looking at any additional roadway improvements like collector street network enhancements or access management improvements. So we're kind of rounding out our roadway analysis process, and we're coming with some draft recommendations to go with the CTT real soon. But of course, that's not all. We're looking for alternative modes of transportation too, and we're looking at a very long range plan. So any and all feasible recommendations for a 2050 timeline are included. We've come up with a framework for getting buckets for near-term, mid-term, and long-term bicycle and pedestrian enhancements. We're looking at possibilities for rail to trail conversions again, because this is a long-range transportation plan looking out to 2050. And also considering a lot of transit service enhancements for existing transit lines, extending existing routes a little further, improved amenities in and around stops, as well as first and last mile technology enhancements. And then looking at a possibility for a community circulator route that would go between a lot of the villages and towns within the Northeast Area Study, and as well as the 2 commuter rail corridors, the S line, which goes up to the north, and then the East Trans, which kind of goes towards the east towards Wilson. We are continually refining this through the winter with our CTT representatives. So where are we heading with this? Upcoming in the near term, we're still further refining now. We're going to start prioritizing some of these draft recommendations with the public's help. And so we'll be looking to have a virtual public open house in the mid to late February timeline with another online survey where people can help us prioritize certain types of enhancements. And then the online survey will be available through our project website, niceupdate.com, under the events tab. What we're looking for after that is an endorsement of the NICE recommendations. And the good news is, as soon as we're completed, all these recommendations fold right into Shelby's discussion of the 2050 MTP updates. So we're going to finish right on time for the MTP process to officially begin and fold the NICE recommendations right in. And again, there's that tentative completion for June of 2021. So I'll leave you with this. Our next phase is testing and engaging with the public one more time, some of our draft recommendations. And so we want to ask your community, are there any public events being held whatsoever this winter? It's okay if there's not, we just have to ask the question. Are there opportunities for us to virtually join or to give you newsletter type information or anything to share to help inform your community about our process and getting people more involved with our project website and our upcoming open house? And if not, are there other ways that we can reach out to your community to have people involved? So that's where our focus is, and we appreciate your time this evening. And that's what we want to hear from you about, is whether if there's good ways for us to continue reaching out to your community and inform them of our process.
Thank you for coming. We appreciate that info that you've just given us. Does anyone have any questions? Okay. I appreciate
Sorry,
that.
Marcia, I have a question. Could we get a copy of the presentation you just did? I know you're recording this, but I feel like I missed a slide.
I'm so glad you asked. If you go to niceupdate.com/events, the presentation is loaded up there, as well as a video of me running through these slides as well.
Perfect.
So you can download all the PowerPoint presentation right there.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Okay. All right. Thank you again. We appreciate it. The next item is an ordinance concerning public nuisances. We have an ordinance that Danny Udy has been working with, but he suggested that we update some of these. You have, I believe, in your packet the old ordinances that are from 1989, and then ones that Danny had suggested. If y'all will just review that, and we will try to have Mr. Udy at our February meeting to actually discuss this. And next on the agenda is Mr. Frank Frazier from Cartar. Mr.
Yes,
Frazier?
ma'am.
Okay,
I'm here. Can you?
and I can hear you.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. We had done a letter about the 160D requirements to update the ordinance, zoning ordinance, and other join that the to past regulations, trying to simplify the process where the city and county statutes were combined and try to make it more simpler. And of course, we have talked with Mr. Vollmer and the planning board about this a couple of times, and he and I talked today, and he may want to share some things on that part that we discussed today. And I'm here.
And I'm sorry, I'm not hearing you. Is anyone else having that problem?
Russ, you want to piggyback on him?
Yes, Frank's having some
Technical issues.
I'm hearing a little feedback. Frank, why don't you mute? Okay. Can everybody hear me okay? All right. So let me expand a little bit on what Frank was talking about. And that is the new state regulations that they've been approved, they've been signed by the governor, and so these regulations are law. And within the language, it is given specific compliance deadlines for what we're calling the 160D. That is the statute that is talking about regulations affecting zoning and subdivision rules. Okay. So let me first talk to you and give you the compliance deadlines. And then we're going to go in and talk about what 160D isn't and what 160D is. Okay. So there's two important deadlines. One is if the town decides not to complete a comprehensive plan. If the town decides to go with the existing comprehensive plan that the town has, then our deadline to be in compliance with the 160 regulations is July 1st of this year. Okay. Now, if the town decides to develop a new comprehensive plan, and I'll explain to you a little bit about that and what they're designating as the definition of a comprehensive plan. But if the town decides that it needs to do a comprehensive plan, July 1st of 2022 is the deadline for adhering to these new regulations. Okay, so July 1st, 2021 with no comprehensive plan, July 1st, 2022 if the town decides it needs a new comprehensive plan. All right, so what does 160D not do? What it doesn't do is affect any individual zoning designations. So if you've got R1 and R2, C1, C2, it doesn't go in there and really change any of the specifics as far as how we designate a parcel with those designations, either R1 or R2. The other thing that 160 doesn't do, it does not affect any existing permits. All current permits are grandfathered in. Okay, so whatever something is zoned now, regardless of regulations that after this fact would change that, it's all grandfathered in. The other thing that 160D does not do is does not change our existing zoning maps. You know, you might think it's a small thing, but it's not small. Especially when developers and other people use those zoning maps. So we'll not be changing the zoning maps. And finally, what 160 does not do is it does not change the town of Bunn's jurisdiction limits. Okay, so all of those are still in place. where the town limits are, and then 1 mile extending out to the ETJ. Okay, let's talk about what 160 does. So as Frank was saying, the legislature in this new law, this new set of regulations, tried to simplify older language, okay? Language that may have been obsolete, okay? One of the major, and there's about 3 major changes in regards to this. One of them being conditional use permits. Conditional use permits going forward in the 160 language are not even allowed. Okay, so they are being removed from the ability of the zoning board and or the town commissioners approving a conditional use permit. And what is being replaced in that place is special use permits. Okay, special use permits have completely different definitions and languages and requirements than a conditional use permit. And so if something comes in front of the planning board that somebody wants to do and it's not zoned properly, we would have to look at the special use permit definition to determine whether that's something that could be done. Okay, an example of something that's already in place within the town of Bunn right now is the Latex Corporation down at the sawmill. They are operating under a special use permit, okay, because that particular parcel was not zoned properly to the way that they are using it currently. So that's the point of a special use permit, okay? So that's the first change. I want to talk about what I consider to be the major change in these regulations. And it says specifically the 160D requires a reasonably, I'm doing that in quotes, reasonably updated comprehensive plan to be adopted along with the new regulations. Okay, so let's go into some detail about what it means to be a comprehensive plan, or what some people refer to as a land use plan. They really are used interchangeably. Okay, currently the town of Bunn has a comprehensive plan. Here's the problem. It's 20 years old, okay? So I can tell you, if you look up here, my screen, so this is a document from the UNC Council of Governments. And the guy that wrote this document, his name is Adam Lovelady. That's pretty good, right? Lovelady. And this was posted on October 8th of 2020. Okay, so relatively soon. And I'm going to go to the 3rd page of this document. And I want to just read to you the last 2 paragraphs and this is under deadline for comprehensive plan. A local government wishing to enforce zoning must have adopted a reasonably up-to-date comprehensive plan or land use plan by July 1, 2022. Any local government that has adopted zoning regulations but has not adopted a comprehensive plan shall adopt such plan no later than July 1st, 2022, in order to retain the authority to adopt and apply such zoning regulations. So basically what that means is that for the town of Bunn to have authority with its zoning, this comprehensive plan is required. Okay, so let me keep going. Chapter 160D 501 was amended to allow a land use plan or comprehensive plan to suffice. Next paragraph, Chapter 160D requires that the requisite plan must be reasonably maintained. There is no specific timeline, but 5 to 10 years is a good rule of thumb for plan updates. If a plan is more than 10 or 15 years old, it is probably time to update it. Notably, the requirement is for reasonable maintenance. There is no mandate for a completed rewrite of the comprehensive plan. So now that's that last sentence is important for town leadership to remember. Okay, there is no specific deadline, okay, for the comprehensive plan. Okay, so basically they're saying you need to do this, but there's no real hard penalty if the town of Bunn takes its time to, if it's decided to move forward with a new comprehensive plan. Okay, but I think it is important to use the judgment of the UNC School of Government to try to define what is a reasonable amount of time that a current comprehensive plan is valid. Okay, this guy is saying 5 to 10 years. Our comprehensive plan is 20 years old. Okay, so all that being said, in talking with Frank today, it's of the belief that the planning board can do most of our work as far as going in and reading this specific new language, going and looking at the old language and seeing what might need to be changed. This would also mean our current new subdivision ordinance also has to be looked at in order for us to determine, are we in compliance with these new regulations under 160D? Okay, so probably 2 to 3 sessions for us to be able to get that work done so we can get it to the commissioners for review, discussion, and then of course approval. Okay, one of those sessions is most likely going to have to involve the town attorney, because we learned that going through our subdivision work, that it was important to have Ben there for specific legal questions to run by him. So we're anticipating one of those sessions we would need Ben to be at the meeting. Okay, so that's kind of that's very much kind of a short update of what 160D is, the deadlines that we're facing, and ultimately a decision that the town has to make in regards to a comprehensive plan. Any questions about that? Frank, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Did I leave out anything on
Well, I think I think you covered it very well. You know, as I mentioned earlier, we have a plan. It was earlier done by the state within a community assistance years ago. We're not sure where the working document, if we had that, you know, we could probably revise it a little easier, but we pretty much would have to start from scratch and all that. But there was a lot of language in the 160 that we'll just have to we're still working. We're having some monthly question and answer sessions that just got recently another question and answer bulletin from them. And so they're really trying to help facilitate this, but it is going to take some effort to go through and really make sure we're consistent with the law and the actions. But, and I think, the council's prerogative is to, and desires are to, would be to, they want to, I think in preliminary told that, separate that from our normal work that we do as far as zoning permits and things to get an idea of what it would cost to get that work done and get started with it. And I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Does the board have any questions for Frank? Or Russ, I understood Russ, but I was having trouble understanding Frank.
Other ordinances that, planning board has, we've had workshop sessions on regarding signs and those types of things that, that we've been able to work on and have made some recommendations on those to bring back to you at the closest the council meeting, if okay, on that part.
Do we have any questions for Frank or Russ?
No.
We appreciate you being with us tonight, Frank, and explaining what we need to do currently.
Thank you. Glad to be with you.
Okay.
Marcia, you're muted.
I'm sorry.
There you go.
That was all we had under new business.
You're muted again.
Sorry. Unmuted.
Yeah, you're good now.
Do you hear? Can you hear me?
Yeah. You good?
Russ, do you have any other comment, any reports?
Just a really brief comment that the planning board did meet before Christmas, and we wrapped up the sign ordinance recommendations. That was something that Frank was mentioning. So we did finish the work on that, and that's going to be put together by Cartar and presented to the commissioners most likely at the next meeting. That's really all that I have to report on planning and zoning, Marcia.
Okay, thank you. And we appreciate the info on the earlier presentation, Russ. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm sorry, I cannot see who is here. Is Rich? at the
No,
meeting?
Marcia, he had emailed me last week and said they were going to be out of town, I believe.
Okay. All right. Tony.
He was here, but he's gone now. I don't know if his internet's not working or what, but he's not on here.
Okay. Do you have anything as far as water and sewer, Pam?
I don't think so. I think they completed the sewer plant itself in Hollinsworth. I know this weekend he texted me. I think Warren pumping station at Warren was going off right much over the weekend just because a lot of water. But I don't have anything else right off the top of my head that he has mentioned.
Okay. Okay. Is Steve with us?
Yes, he's here.
Okay. Steve?
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. I got in a little late, but I'm here. Yeah, I run some numbers for the yearly since we're coming up on, we're already in 2021, but for year 2020, we had investigated or had some incident investigations around 53. We had 13 arrests, 18 accidents in 2020. We wrote a total of 59 citations. We wrote 89 warning tickets. We actually wrote 56 ordinance violations. So I thought that was good there. The ordinance violations we put on the books. We actually cited 56 of those. Let's see. And then I also did a year-to-year comparison on our incident crime summary. And of course, you know, we all know about the murder that took place a couple of months back. So in 2019, we had 0, but in 2020, we did have that one 18-year-old individual that was basically actually got shot, you know, at the laundromat and then drove himself to the subway where he actually died. So we have one of those. Sex offenses, we had 0 in 2019. We had 2 in 2020. Assaults, we actually had 6 in 2019, but we didn't have but 2 in 2020, which was a 66% decrease. The breaking and entering into a building, we had 2 in 2019. We also had 2 in 2020. Shoplifting, we had 3 of each. Theft of a motor vehicle or theft from a motor vehicle, we had 1 in 19. We had 4 in 2020. Total larcenies, we had 14 in 2019. We had 16 in 2020. We had 0 motor vehicle theft, like stealing of a vehicle. We had 2 in 19, but 0 in 2020. Credit card fraud, we had 2 in 2020 and we had 3 in 2019. Destruction, damage, or vandalism of property, we had 5 in 2019 and 4 in 2020. So that was down about 20%. So overall, for the year of 2020, I thought for law enforcement in our town, I think we done pretty good. You know, we stayed around. We were down in a lot of areas, which is what you want, a decrease in crime. I really thought it would have been up a little bit higher with situations going on and everybody sitting around and with nothing to do. It has a tendency to cause crime to increase, but we were blessed to keep it at a minimum. Besides that one, obviously that one murder that took place. Other than that, obviously we know we had that vehicle accident that totaled the patrol car. So I'm in the process of now trying to get some um, I think what's the place? Performance Dodge is bringing me and getting me an estimate now. How much will it be for a new vehicle? The cost of the vehicle, the cost to stripe it, and the cost to upfit it with all the blue lights and stuff. And he's going to give me a separate estimate for insurance purposes on that vehicle as well. The one that was totaled, and that vehicle was totaled. So other than that, we're just keep it on, keep it on.
Okay, does anyone have any questions of Steve?
Marcia, I guess we need to decide about the other car, Steve, we got. We never said how we was gonna sell it or a low number, how to sell the other one. And the one that's still sitting at the shop. We need to do something with it.
I thought we was going to take like silent bids like we did on the old truck. So,
Nothing was ever decided on it.
oh, okay. Well, I got one silent bid. somebody actually has, you know, put a bid in, said they would take it, or put a bid in anyway. I mean, with the motor blown up in it, it's going to be hard to, unless somebody is mechanically inclined, it's going to be hard to try to sell it as well. So we don't have it at one bid. So I think sometimes it might be better to take a bid, and we already got two. We don't want to put up a fence back there and start our own Bunn junkyard.
But do I have a motion to declare it surplus and to take bids on that vehicle until the end of January?
I'll make a motion to take bids on the vehicle until the end of January.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Question, how do people know that we're taking bids on the vehicle? Is it a word of mouth thing, or does it go on the webpage?
Before I believe we have put it on the door and on the webpage, Pam, or have y'all advertised it before?
Yeah, we what we have done, just put it out here, just like you do at home. Put a for sale sign on it, and we'll take bids on it. I'll put it on the door. We can put it on the shop. We can put it on the web page. But we just took bids on the last one that was out there. I think we got $550 for
it. Okay. And this one has got a motor that is blown up in it. So do we want to set a minimum bid or on this one?
What year was that? The one with the motor blown up?
You know, Steve?
I think it's like a 06 Dodge Charger. Yeah.
It is 06.
Yeah, it's like a 06 Dodge Charger. It had the smaller 6-cylinder motor in it. So, I mean, everything else works fine. The transmissions seems to be fine, but with the motor blown up in it, it's going to be not worth too much.
We're just going whatever bids we get, highest bid by the end of January.
I would go with that. Looking at the values that come up for it, it doesn't look like it's going to be worth very much running or not.
Okay, so I have a motion to declare it surplus to the end of January, and I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, thank you. Okay, Steve, did you have anything else?
No, ma'am. That's it.
Okay. Do we have any public comments on record, Pam?
No, ma'am.
Okay, all right. I apologize by not being able to see who is there. Is Ben there?
No, Ben's not here. Andrew is here. If you would like here to give you an update on our numbers for the ending of last year budget.
That would be great. Thank you. Thank you, Andrew.
I'm new to this. I'm just trying to figure this stuff out, but I pretty much finished everything up. I'm going to send the auditor all the information that's required,
Ben's here.
and
Put it on there now.
the general fund revenues over expenses about 17,000. Water sewer fund, it's about 54,000. Revenues over expenditures.
Good.
But
I'm sorry, what did you say? Can you repeat that again, Andrew?
the general fund revenues over expenditures approximately 17,000. Water sewer fund revenues over expenditures approximately 54,000.
Okay, thank you.
And you bought a police car, you know, the beginning of the COVID pandemic. I mean, you know, it's a lot of things in play. You know, you got decreased numbers from last year. So
That it?
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Andrew? Okay, thank you, Andrew. We appreciate you giving us that information.
you're certainly welcome. Thank you.
Have a good evening. Did someone say Ben had joined us?
Yeah, Ben's here.
Okay, Ben, did you have anything?
I think he's muted. Ben, can you unmute?
There you go.
I'm here.
Okay, did you have anything, Ben?
The only thing I had is I hope we don't have to do this much more.
I agree.
Other than that, no.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next is for comments from the commissioners. Nicole, do you have anything?
I have noticed, and so have several of the people around, that I've had some positive feedback from the speed bumps that are on Franklin down behind the church and the water tower, and people seem generally pleased with that. It does seem to be slowing down traffic, so that's wonderful. I know Tony's not on right now, but please pass on our thanks because it's definitely made an improvement.
Okay. Anything else?
I think that's it.
Mac, do you have
What
any
is the
comments?
report? What is the report on the vultures? What is the outcome?
So, I'm sorry, Marcia. I talked to the wildlife guy one day last week, and it was not a vulture in sight the day he came. It was pouring down rain too, but I think the cannon is pretty much working. I haven't seen them. I wish Tony was on here, but I will see. I hadn't seen them hardly at all in town this week or last week, and it was out for Christmas. I haven't seen a whole lot of them, but he told me that if it didn't work and we needed to come back in and they would trap them, but it would be a fee. It's nothing free. And he also advised to hang up dead vultures, but not real ones upside down. He said they have put them out, and like on the tower back here or food line, they would build stands with the arm out and where they can swing in the wind. He said they worked a lot too, but that's the only advice he could give me, unless I want to pay for something.
Did he say how much it would cost if we have to have them come back out and trap them?
No, I figured out I crossed that path when we got to it.
We might want to just find out just in case they come back in mass.
The ones that when the cannons were put up, but the Franklin County, the school system actually paid for that, correct? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I told somebody it's funny. We have a murder in the county. You don't get a phone call, one from it, but we have buzzards flying around and we make national news. Wow.
Yeah. Okay. Mac, did you have anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Don?
I'm glad we could get together by Zoom tonight. It's nice that we could do this safely, but that's all I have.
Okay. I'm sorry I had overlooked Pam. Pam, do you have a report?
I don't.
I do know that you finished up the grant for the water and sewer, correct?
Yeah, that's been completed. I think our first payment comes in June of this year. I just got to finish up with the park grant now, but I'm glad to be over and done with the grant for that water sewer. That's a experience if you've never done one before. It's a learning experience.
On the streets where we had passed on the power bill to pave, has that work been completed?
Yes, all that's been completed.
Okay. Does anybody have any other questions? Comments? Do I have a motion to dismiss?
I'll make a motion to dismiss.
Do I have a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for y'all's attendance tonight. We appreciate it, and have a good month. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Pam, for pulling this all together.
Oh, thank you. We're
You
on
did
YouTube
well.
too, so.
You done good, Pam.
You really did. It went well for a
Thank you.
first time Zoom.
Yeah.
Bye, y'all.
We'll see y'all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.